On today's show, the serial entrepreneur Derek Gallimore shares with us how you can outsource everything, including the driving of your oil tanker. What? Yes, you can even outsource the driving of your oil tanker.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have an incredible guest. This guy is a serial entrepreneur who has actually seen the highs and the lows of the entrepreneurial journey as few have. He's built a $20 million business and then has seen it all come crumbling down. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome onto the show, Mr. Derek Gallimore. Derek, how are you, sir?
Hi, Clay. I'm fantastic and super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, you've obviously had a lot of success with your career, but I'd like to start off at the very beginning. Tell us about the beginning or at the very bottom of your career. What was life like growing up for you, and when did you decide what you wanted to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I had an incredible upbringing. My parents were fantastic. They were so incredibly supportive. I was born in the UK, raised in New Zealand by English parents, and you know, I couldn't complain, but they were what they call themselves working class, and they never really encouraged entrepreneurialism, you know, and sort of starting businesses, which seems so popular these days. So, you know, it was sort of expected of me that I would go safe, get a safe career, get a safe qualification and things like that. And I remember feeling very early on that really wasn't just for me. So I took a slightly different path, and it's been an incredible path, yeah, but certainly a lot of, you know, a lot of hard work and a lot of roller coaster rides with it.
Now, we told the listeners when we started the show that you bootstrapped and started a $20 million business. What was that business, and how did you build it?
Yeah, I mean, just to go back a little bit further, I was 24 years old when I bought my first investment property in central London. I'd just been backpacking for about a year, and I was able to get the funds for that. And then within about sort of 6 years, I had built a property portfolio of about $15 million. And that isn't to gloat or to boast, but effectively I caught a very good period, the tail end of a property boom in London. As that began to slow down, I moved into a synergistic kind of business, which was the serviced apartments or corporate housing. And that was in 2009, which was the same year that Airbnb was beginning. So I built that to about 250 apartments in central London, in Zone 1 London, over about the next 8-9 years. And that became about 20 million revenues annually with, you know, we had about 85 staff across 2 countries.
So how did it all come crumbling down? It sounded like you had such good momentum and like you'd, you know, been diligently working at this. What happened, or what caused the whole thing to collapse for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had incredible momentum. I was on a run, you know, and by sort of 30 then I was, you know, I suppose a highly successful young guy. We really, it was the convergence of a few things, but effectively Airbnb, and not to blame Airbnb, but they basically flooded the London market with a huge amount of stock. And what we found is, you know, carrying 250 apartments, basically the top line revenues that we got per dollar of rent paid, let's say, effectively reduced by 50%. So, you know, there was just massive margin compression. Meanwhile, the OTAs, the online travel agents like Booking.com and Airbnb, they were getting more powerful. So they were charging more in commissions. And so I saw this perfect storm coming of decreasing top line and increasing costs, which is so decreasing margins, and it really became really tough really quickly. Looking back now, it was really, you learn incredible lessons, but it was certainly hard at the time.
What was the lowest low point for you where you thought, holy crap, this cannot be happening? What was the part where, do you remember, was there a specific moment where you vividly can remember thinking, just, how did I get here?
Yeah, a lot. You do a lot of reflecting. But it wasn't one specific Titanic moment, I don't think. And funnily enough, the hard work was before the business shut down. It was about 18 months of intense work, pivoting, trying to keep the morale of the staff high, trying to figure out what to do, trying to look at new sort of mini business models, and just really scrambling. And also within that period, being as efficient as you possibly could with every dollar that you had, and that was an extended period. I was working kind of, 12 to 18 hour days. And I realized, wow, this is super tough. It's really, it's hard working hard when you've got a good goal to get towards, but it's really hard working hard when you're hemorrhaging money. Every day is worse than the last, and that carries on for 18 months. And I was like, wow, that, this is a test.
So how did you go from being at the bottom of that test and trial to getting back up to the top now? I mean, to tell the listeners what you're doing now and how you recovered from that devastating series of losses.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. And to be honest, I'm still not back to where I was at my peak, I suppose you could say. After the 18 months of really tough work trying to turn this thing around, I was actually relieved because I closed the business. It was tough, but then I felt that I could have a bit of space again and I could move on. And within about 2 weeks, I got my entrepreneurial juices back and I was beginning to be creative again, and I was excited about new ventures. And, to my advantage, I still had a little bit of cash left because of my previous property portfolio, although I had lost literally millions and the vast majority of my net worth. So, I was very much starting from the beginning. Now, what I evolved into, I had been in the Philippines for about 5 or 6 years by then. We had a back office in the Philippines, and outsourcing is one of the biggest industries in the Philippines, which is basically the back office functions for Western businesses. This is an incredible industry, and there was no aggregator platform for that. And I'm like, this, there is a huge calling for this. There is a huge need for this. So I actually came from my previous industry, which was hotels, accommodation and travel. And as you know, there are thousands of aggregator platforms representing these industries. People will go to Booking.com or Agoda or Skyscanner, and there wasn't one platform representing this incredibly powerful outsourcing industry. So, that was born out of my lessons from the hospitality industry that I was previously in, and that's Outsource Accelerator, which is now our aggregator platform.
So what kind of practical things could our listeners, business owners, could they outsource to you guys? I mean, do you help connect them with the companies and individuals that do the outsourced work, or tell us how you help business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, first of all, we are committed to just building awareness and education about what outsourcing is. In its simplest form, outsourcing is really just employment, but you are utilizing the abundant skills and cheaper salaries that are out there in the Philippines. So, if you're an employer and you have staff, then you can get staffing at about 70% less than what you are paying in the US or UK or Canada and things like that. These are highly qualified people, highly committed people, and the work would be produced at least the same quality. Now, if people come onto our platform, they can look around. We list about 700 outsourcing suppliers on the platform. We have about 5,000 pages of content. We have hundreds of videos. We also have our own podcast. So people can just learn about outsourcing. They can browse. And of course, then we can also help them find whatever resources they need, whether that's an outsourcing supplier, whether they need a fully managed solution for their business. And whether it's one person or they need 100 people, we can help them with that solution.
What kind of services or what kind of solutions can you outsource now? I mean, accounting, bookkeeping, photo editing, video editing. I mean, what kind of stuff could you outsource with today's technology?
Absolutely. It's incredible. It's really, the list is limited to what you can't outsource. Basically, anything that you can do in front of a computer, which is now most things, can be outsourced. We, of course, do all of the bookkeeping, accounting, marketing, sales, web development, basic administration, VA services, but we also do, the Philippines is now renowned for post-editing for Hollywood movies, all of the CGI, a lot of the animation, so you get incredible creative talent here. We also have PhDs, we have science doctorates, so if you're doing any chemical engineering, that can also be done here. And we have people, sitting in Manila offices. They are Navy Sea Captain trained, and they are steering tankers in the middle of the ocean.
What?
And that is from an office in Manila. We also have people that are looking at Danish satellite dishes. They are optimizing the location of the satellite dish, and they are tweaking the satellite dish by 0.5 degree so that the mobile signal can be enhanced. There is no limit now to what you can do from the Philippines, or basically from in front of a computer.
Did you just say that there are people from the Philippines who are captaining Navy vessels?
Absolutely. We can show you through training facilities. It's incredible now. You talk about autonomous vehicles and cars and things like that. These tankers, they're big, but they pretty much go on a straight line, and all of the coordinates are up in the satellites and up in the spaceships. So, it's incredible now what you can do remotely. And, coming back to the more sort of standard business requirement, there are very few tasks that really cannot be outsourced. And what I sort of implore people to do is just consider looking at this. And it's not so that you save money, so that you're laying off staff. It's actually so that you can build your business and be proactive with your clients instead of reactive, because your human resource costs so much.
So you're saying, though, that there's a guy right now. I struggle to move on sometimes. So there's a guy right now who is sitting at a computer with like a joystick or some kind of device, and he is steering a massive Navy or a massive sea-bearing vehicle, a huge tanker of some sort.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Philippines has a seafaring history. As you might know, they staff a lot of the oil rigs, they staff a lot of the cruise liners, a lot of the merchant navy, and this evolves, this progresses, and of course ships really aren't steered by a big steering wheel anymore. It's all computers, and these ships are being guided by a satellite, and so why do you need to be on the ship? And these big I don't know a lot about this industry, but
sure,
these tankers have very few staff on them now, because so much can be done remotely. And of course they do have staff on there, but the majority of work now in steering a tanker can be done remotely.
Wow. Okay. I promise I'll move on now. I know for a while I got kind of locked in there. That's wild. Well, so now if I go to your website here, let's say that I'm listening right now and I'm like, I kind of want to have outsource a palooza. I want to outsource everything. Yes, outsource a palooza, baby. Woo! Once I go up there, how much money? Do you make money per hour? Like if I pay a guy in the Philippines X number of dollars per hour, do you make a little commission on that? Or are you making a little connection fee? I mean, how do you how do you make the money? How do you make the money over there?
We've all got to make money, don't we?
Yeah, how do you make money? How do you make money?
Okay, look. The first thing that is very clear is no one in outsourcing should really make a commission from the salary. That should be a pass-through cost. All of the staff salary and contributions should be completely transparent. But beyond that, with employment, as you know, in the US or anywhere in the world, there's a lot of other costs. There's the office space, there's the operational management, there is the hiring, and the legal entity that basically keeps them employed and compliant with the very pro-labor regulations here in the Philippines. So, we Effectively, what there is there's a salary component. Then there's a facilities and management component. All of this is very transparent, and we can do those at cost. So then effectively on top of that is a small management fee, and that is somewhere between about 50 cents and $1 all in. Okay, so there's three core components. One of them is their salary. The rest is the facilities, and then there's a management fee if they want that management fee.
You are a mind expander, my friend. You are blowing my mind. Where are you physically located right now? Are you actually in my office right now? And is someone from the Philippines doing this interview right now?
You never know, do you? You never know. I am in Manila. I am in it's almost like the Mecca for outsourcing. And, I'm just so passionate about this. And, it can be a little bit controversial at times. People are losing jobs. I think that's sometimes detached from reality. Most of America now has the lowest employment rates ever. What has happened to this automation that's taken jobs, the foreigners taking jobs? Most of America is now at the lowest employment rate ever. There are many businesses in America that cannot get the staff that they need. There are businesses in Japan that are declaring bankruptcy because they cannot get staffing. And the Philippines is the third largest English-speaking country in the world. They produce about 650,000 graduates per year, university graduates, and you can get a highly qualified, fantastic, dedicated, committed person for a base salary of about $500 per month. And this is just a huge opportunity, not only for the Philippines, but for the Western world to get the resources they need to build their business and serve their clients.
Is your new slogan going to be OurSourceAccelerator.com, where you, too, can outsource the driving of your oil tanker? Is that going to be your new slogan?
That's it. I'm changing it today.
Oh, my gosh.
It'll be live by the time we're broadcasting.
Okay, so I have a couple final questions for I want to ask you about here. You're having a lot of success as an entrepreneur, but I think a lot of people want to know, a lot of our listeners want to know the mechanics that allow you to become successful, your daily schedule, your daily habits, your daily rituals. How do you organize the first 4 hours of each day? Like, what does that look like, the first 4 hours of each day?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, with the time difference that we're recording, this is actually 6 a.m. my time. So we're a little bit into my morning routine. But typically, and I don't know if this starts to sound a little bit cliche now, but I get up, I meditate, and then I go and exercise. I also drink a liter of water. I do very gentle exercise for about the first 45 minutes of the day. I'm lucky enough to have a sauna within my facilities. I have a swimming pool, and I basically do some walking, so super light exercise. Then, after the meditation and that process, that's about an hour and a half after I've woken up. I then have my main meal for the day, which is, a little bit unexciting. And then I'm super excited to go to the coffee shop and have my coffee for the day, which is probably the highlight of my day, and that's where I start work in a nice environment. I spend about an hour there, and then I come home to get into the gritty work. So,
you said you have your meal of the day. Are you implying, Derek Gallimore, that you are having one meal a day?
Yeah, well, I'm on the whole keto thing, which again, I don't want to sound too cliche with this, but yes, I'm ketogenic and intermittent fasting. So I have a really big meal at about 6:45 in the morning with a lot of fats and oils. And then I have a small meal at about 11 o'clock, which is 3 eggs and a coffee, and that's it. So
what's your big meal? What's your big meal? What does that consist of?
It'd be tons of vegetables and a protein. So maybe, like a stir-fry vegetable with chicken, or a salad with chicken, and tons of oils, tons of good fats on top of that.
Well, I tell you what, you are sounding right now like you're looking great. That's how you're sounding right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm feeling great. It is amazing. It is amazing. And also, coming back to the kind of hardship thing, what I learned in the hard times is you've really got to look after your foundation, and actually when things are going tough, I double down on the discipline and the basics, because otherwise this journey can destroy you. So I try and look after the foundations.
Now, I have two final questions for you. Then I'll let you get back to outsourcing the driving of tankers, oil tankers.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to our listeners out there? Do you have like a certain, a pithy quote or a specific move or something where you say, listeners out there, if you want to make your life better, do this?
Wow. Well, I'm not good at quotes or jokes, but one thing that sticks in my head is when I was a young boy, I was watching Oprah Winfrey inadvertently, and the guest was saying, who would you be if you weren't so afraid? And I think that's a fantastic, empowering concept of, what is holding us back? What aren't we doing because we're scared or afraid, or what aren't we venturing into? So I tend to look at things from that perspective. Who would you be if you weren't so afraid?
Now, if I'm out there and I am afraid of outsourcing, I mean, I kind of want to look into it, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, what if, I'm afraid. I want to do it, but I'm afraid. What's the best way for someone to put their toe into the water of outsourcing and your outsource accelerator to see if it's right for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I am so stern on this. You have to look into this. You don't have to do it, of course not. But as an employer, we are going, like, globalization is happening at breakneck speed. Technology is changing. You have to explore this for your business, or you are at risk of losing your business. Just look into it. Every business, I believe, there are 40 million small and medium-sized businesses in the West, of which virtually none of them outsource, versus the Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies. 99% of those companies outsource. Now, where is the competitive advantage there if all of the small and medium-sized businesses aren't even looking into this? And the big guys have been doing it 25 years. Now, the technology is there. The industry is 25 years old and it's highly sophisticated, and it's now very flexible and accepting of small and medium-sized businesses. So my challenge to people is just explore this. It isn't as scary as you think. It is much easier to get started, and it is so much more rewarding. And people, once they start outsourcing, their companies blossom. They, grow their staffing numbers, and it is a super exciting journey.
So what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch with you? Is there a certain website you want to direct everybody to? Or if they want to learn more, where's the place that you would direct all of our listeners to go to today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Craig. So it is outsourceaccelerator.com. And if they want, they can get free quotes from us, which is outsourceaccelerator.com/quote. And if they want to reach out to me, it is Derek at outsourceaccelerator.com, and that is DEREK.
Well, I can tell you this. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on today's show and not outsourcing. And not that it would be a bad idea to outsource your interview to somebody in the Philippines, but I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're having a lot of success, helping a lot of people, and I do appreciate you for taking the time to educate our listeners. And I hope you have an incredible day, my friend.
No, thank you so much, Graham. When you get an oil tanker, let me know and we can help you steer it.
All right, that's a deal. Hey, you take care. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
My name is Danielle Sprick, and I am the founder of D Sprick Realty Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After being a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and my 3 kids started school and they were in school full-time, I was at a crossroads and trying to decide what do I want to do? My degree and my background is in education, but after being a mom and staying home and all of that, I just didn't have a passion for it like I once did. My husband suggested real estate. He's a home builder, so real estate and home building go hand in hand, and we just rolled with it. I love people. I love working with people. I love the building relationships. But one thing that was really difficult for me was the business side of things, the processes and the advertising and marketing. I knew that I did not have what I needed to make that what it should be. So I reached out to Clay at that time. And he and his team have been extremely instrumental in helping us build our brand, help market our business, our agents, the homes that we represent. Everything that we do is a direct line from Clay and his team and all that they've done for us. We launched our brokerage, our real estate brokerage, 8 months ago. And in that time, we've gone from myself and one other agent to just this week, we signed on our 16th agent. We have been blessed with the fact that we right now have just over 10 million in pending transactions. 3 years ago, I never would have even imagined that I would be in this role that I'm in today, building a business, having 16 agents. But I have to give credit where credit's due. And Clay and his team and the business coaching that they've offered us has been huge. It's been instrumental in what we're doing. Don't ever limit your vision. When you dream big, big things happen.